Hello everybody. Alright. Thank you for joining Cage Combat and Fitness. Today's a special video that's not about cage combat or fitness. I will be reviewing, it's going to be a very, very light review, mainly catered to those who already seen the movie Hell House Origins, the Carmichael Manor. Now for those who haven't watched this movie, it's the fourth installment to the Hell House LLC franchise. They are the found footage type first person movies. I can honestly tell you, me and my wife, we see a lot of horror movies. We find them enjoyable. We want to see which ones use factual concepts in their movies. We're not too into like the gore, none of that stuff, but we do like like the ghostly haunting type movies. It's a good way to get some a little history on a few things. I'll give you some examples. We saw this one movie called The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and in this movie they reference Leviticus from the Old Testament. Pretty interesting stuff that when you realize what's in there. But again, we're talking about this other franchise. Now, it does cater to those people that have seen it, because I'm not going into like a deep review of the first three movies. So if you've seen Hell House already, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get straight to it. Obviously, if you've seen it, so spoiler alert. I'd like to get your point of view for those who have watched the movie, and add your comments, add your questions. Again, if you haven't seen it, it's a very good, has good jump scares, has a good story. I don't care what anybody says, the second and the third sequels were good, because you gotta give horror movies some credit. When you see the first one, of course you're gonna get scared by the way they introduce the scares to you. They can't replicate that as well in the second and third one, because we're used to it. We know what tactics they're going to use. It's the same director. We know what to look for. We know what to anticipate. So it's not as scary. It's not as goosebumpy, So in a horror movie, the first one's going to be the one that scares the crap out of you. The rest is what explains the story to you. And they're not as scary. They're more, it's like The Conjuring. It's like Insidious, You see the first ones, they kind of get you with, especially they get you with a soundtrack. You hear the loud sound pop as soon as something scary happens. They're supposed to get your senses. But when you're used to a franchise already, you get used to their style. Nothing wrong with that, because now it's time to tell the story. So, in my opinion, whenever you watch a horror movie, look at them with new eyes. Each horror movie, it doesn't matter if they're sequels, it doesn't matter if they're prequels, whatever. You gotta watch it with new eyes, like if it's its own horror movie, and follow the story. Try to close the gap of questions you have in the movie, so that you have a better idea of what the story is about. I don't like cliffhangers much. I like to get an ending to a story so I can move on. Especially, we're really picky with horror movies. Now, we're Christians, but we watch horror movies because we like to know. It's kind of like for example, let's say you're a fighter, you're gonna watch other UFC fights. Why? Because you want to know what to expect in a fight. If you're a police officer, if you're a soldier in war, you're going to watch war videos. You're going to watch atrocities happen, as a police officer, like in the community, to understand what can happen. So, we watch horror movies with the same concept, like, for example, let's say you don't watch any horror movies. No, again, this all pertains on what you believe, what you don't believe. But let's say you don't watch horror movies, and then your kids go out to Walmart and they buy themselves a Ouija board. So you're thinking like, oh, cool, a Ouija board. What's that? Oh, it's just a game board. Okay, cool. Start playing the Ouija board. Start getting obsessed with it. And start, Now, most of us by now know what a Ouija board is and what it does and what you're not supposed to do with it, especially with movies, obviously. But before, it's kind of like, okay, you're talking to somebody. No, you're talking to entities, You're not even talking to ghosts. Ghosts, don't really exist. You're talking to demons and stuff like that. Again, don't follow my beliefs, but I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in entities. So you get a Ouija board, that's what you're getting. You're not getting a loved one. Those loved ones are somewhere else. Regardless, kids come home, start messing with that stuff, and you're thinking like, oh, whatever. It's a game board, just like Monopoly. It's not like Monopoly. Now you watch these horror movies and thinking like, hey, wow, what is that? Hey, my son bought that. Hey, my daughter bought that. Wait a minute, that's not good. And then you can make your judgment from there. Anyways, let's get down to it. Here are the questions for Hell House Origins, the Carmichael Manor. All right, guys. So, Carmichael Manor. Think of this question. We know Patrick Carmichael is the one who killed, who massacred his family, and is the link to the Hell House Abaddon Hotel. You see it at the end, where he goes over there and he goes down the basement with his clown costume. So Russell Wynn in the third one, he closes that gate, which means everything's good, right? The gates of hell are closed. Russell Wynn's there, like the angel protecting it, because he dies too, obviously. Goes Redeemer mode on the spawn and everything. Pretty cool stuff. But then you think about, okay, enter these, enter Margot, her brother and her girlfriend, and now you're like, okay, now they enter this the Carmichael Manor, which is obviously cursed, obviously haunted. But you're thinking like, okay, well, the gates of hell were closed at the Abaddon Hotel. It doesn't mean that whatever gates were open at the Carmichael Manor were closed. So now we're dealing with a grudge type entity, because you do see the sister, all messed up, all mutilated. You do see the sister that he brought back to life, like in the movie as well. And you see Patrick Carmichael, the clown. Now here's the question, guys. Is Patrick Carmichael actually dead? Because yeah, we see him go down the basement at the end, obviously in the prequel mode. So now Russell Wynn has closed the gates of hell. It doesn't mean that Patrick Carmichael is gone, because you would assume he would leave with the rest of the demons back to hell. But then you ask yourself, no, this dude returned back to his mansion, and he's in there. And you gotta ask yourself, why would that happen? Because apparently, like, he was part of the Abaddon Hotel. You assume in the whole spiritual lore of it that he's gonna go with Andrew Tully and the rest of them, but no, he's there at the mansion, terrorizing, killing. We actually see him move. I know he moves in the second one, like we see him move, when they're trying to escape the door, and he does this thing where he goes like this. You guys know what I'm talking about. But this time you see him approaching the brother, So you gotta ask yourself, like, is he actually dead? Or is he just some possessed dude with demonic powers, and he can take his family, his siblings with him wherever he goes to terrorize people, So now I know if you watch Hell House 1 through 3, you see the Margaret, the sister, and Catherine. You see versions of them in there. More than anything, we do see Margaret, especially in the first one where she takes over the curly-haired guy in the first one. So you gotta ask yourself, like, why are they there? most entities stick to their area. But it seems like because of Patrick, they can move around, kind of like Pokemon. He moves around like Pokemon. All right, so that's the question: is he still alive? In the next Hell House, in the 5th one, here's my thoughts. We're gonna get 3 things. We're gonna get, kind of like in this movie, it was a prequel sequel. We're gonna get the same thing, but in this case, we're gonna get the prequel of Andrew Tully. How he was a religious man, lost his daughter, entered the cult, and managed that cult. And then we're gonna get what happened to the dad. Now that can go either way. We'll either get a prequel of where the dad's at, because we don't hear too much about the dad. We know they blame him in the beginning, but in reality, like, dad's nowhere to be found. So we're either gonna get a prequel version of him and a sequel version of him. What if he's still alive? Not only that, we got to get a sequel version either of Patrick Carmichael causing further devastation, or somebody actually going to the mansion to close that gate. Another Russell Wynn, in his Mortal Kombat fight, trying to, close, the nether realms, from invading Earth. That's how I see it. This really is like a Mortal Kombat between heaven and hell. And basically, Hell House 1, you had your first combatants. They sucked, they died. Then they were in the fight. The second one, you had Mitchell, who seemed kind of like a badass, like he's gonna do something about it. But they got too. So now you go into a third one, you got Russell Wynn, dude's a savage. Dude's like, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice all these people for a while. They're all gonna die. Sucks for them. They'll come back. Using like his reanimation jutsu for all of them. So you gotta admit that Russell Wynn had awesome angel powers. Just being funny right here. So, but then Russell Wynn goes all Redeemer mode at the end. Yeah, you don't see too much of a fight scene, but he does have that freaking that Goku multi-step right there when he slides towards Andrew Tully. Dude knew what he was doing. Went to full savage mode. Seeing his face too. He was gonna mess somebody up throughout the whole movie. That was his full intention. Anyways, I loved all 3 of them. Love the 4th one too. Now you have some other people reviewing this movie, and they're complaining that, like, oh, you know what, it's just they're answering too many questions. Well, yeah, you gotta get the answers. What do you expect? It's a horror movie. Horror movies follow a genre. The first one scares the crap out of you. The sequels explain to you, because they can't scare you anymore. You know what's gonna happen. Yeah, the same director, they're gonna use the same strategy. Nothing wrong with that. That's what they gotta do. But now they introduce a story to you. They gotta give you an ending. Horror movies suck at giving you endings. That's why they have to leave you with cliffhangers. They gotta continue it until they end it. Ending, commonly morally sucks. Honestly, Hell House did not suck. It was about the Abaddon Hotel. Abaddon is the name of an actual demon, and he fought those entities. Obviously, you're fighting hell. You use heavenly energy. They're really smart movie, right? Really smart movies. Low budget, very well made. But again, the question is, in this next one, was the dad either killed, or did the dad manipulate his son, Patrick Carmichael, to do what he had to do? Did he influence him, saying like, hey, let's bring your sister back to life by joining this cult, when in reality he's just using him as a tool? Because Satanists don't give a crap about their kids. I mean, if you watch the movie Hereditary, I think it's called Hereditary. Yeah, the grandma basically was just making kids, like in Paranormal Activity, was just making kids to sacrifice them. or to put a demon into them, you know? That's what those people do. I mean, they have children. I mean, it's just like in The Conjuring, you know, the witch Bathsheba, she basically had her child to sacrifice it, you know? A lot of messed up people out there. But you got to ask yourself that question, like, what's next? Because they did a very great job. We saw this movie on Halloween, on Shudder. Shudder, awesome job for having it on there, having a lot of good horror movies there. You can also see Autopsy of Jane Doe over there. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of these people, but very, very good movie. If you, like I said, this review is for those who have seen the movie. I really appreciate if you comment, ask questions. I'll answer every question asked. Maybe make another video on it. Maybe I'll make a video on the first and second and third. Either way, I thought it was an awesome movie. Make sure to watch it with the correct eyes when you see these movies. You know, don't judge them too much. Each horror movie should be reviewed as its own movie when it comes to horror. All right, guys. Have a great day. That was Hell House Origins, the Carmichael Manor. Can't wait for the next one.